Like that, partner. Galloway drives all the way to the hole, throws it off, got it! And Indiana's got their first lead of this contest.
I mean, that's a goddamn Emmy winner right there.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hey, everybody. How are you? Welcome aboard. Thanks a lot for being with us here for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Thursday, the last day of November. Hope you are doing well. Plenty to get to, of course. Lots of basketball, football talk. Does Indiana have their man? I think they do. I think Kurt Cignetti is the guy. I put out a post yesterday about 4:30 that, you know, after looking through everything, I thought he was the guy, and then it really started picking up steam along that route. But I have no doubts that is the guy that they're looking at as far as final vetting and all of that stuff. Recently, he got College Game Day to come to James Madison for a Dukes game, and he took the microphone and showed that he has his own moxie. He was up talking to the crowd with a microphone, so he has the charisma as well. But most importantly, this dude is a winner. That's what I gleaned from going through researching yesterday. He's never had a losing season. He reminds me of Kalen DeBoer. It might not have been at the highest level. Doesn't matter. He's never lost. I mean, as far as having a losing season, he's got football coming out of his veins. His dad was his dad coached under Bobby Bowden at West Virginia. Then his dad became the head coach at West Virginia and won 199 games there. Kurt was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the cradle of football. And I could go on, but he's just, football is what he is, and he just reminds me of Kalen DeBoer in some ways. But I think that's going to end up being the guy. I think I mentioned that I had been tracking a plane, and it had sat over along the East Coast for a while yesterday, the longest that it had been anywhere. And it took off this morning finally at 8:30. Now, does it have him on that plane? That I don't know. That I don't know. But we will find out when Indiana makes that announcement. But I would expect it to come sooner rather than later, although I believe James Madison, even though they are not eligible to play in the Sun Belt Championship because they were 11-1, but it's the first year in Division I, and the NCAA has this stupid rule about you can't be successful in your first year. You're not allowed to reap the benefits, which I find to be crazy. Anyway, I think that Indiana's got its guy. Brian says hire Fryer for OC. Well, if he would leave, but Fry's never been an OC. Isn't he the line coach? What does he do at Ohio State?
I know he's the associate head coach, but I don't know what his position coach is.
But they hand those titles out like candy, man.
Yeah.
It's like the assistant head coach, the associate head coach, the associate head coach. But How's everybody doing? Appreciate everybody jumping on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Don't forget, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, powered by Andy Moore Honda. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com. Fred Fozon from Amman, Jordan, jumping on early. Fred, John, Randy from Indy. Rudy the Boxer, Kevin down in Jayville, Jeffersonville. Jamie, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Bill's up in the UP. Kevin Bratcher likes Jason Candle, which is a good pick, but it's not going to be him. Tony from Elk Ridge, Maryland. Jamie. Brian says, sounds like it's going to be Cignetti. I believe so. He suggests Fry for OC, which I'm not sure that it'll be interesting to see if it turns out to be Kurt Cignetti. It'll be interesting to see how he fills his staff. One thing I think of immediately is that Brandon Shelby has been a coach at Indiana for 13 years, football coach. And I don't know that continues or not. He came here, I think, originally with Kevin Wilson, and maybe even before that, to have been here for that long. But he's been here for a while.
I got a quick question. What do you think are the odds? And this may be a stupid question, so forgive me if it is.
No
but
stupid
do you
question.
think there's any chance that Rod Carey sticks around?
Well,
as the OC,
not as OC. Hell no, absolutely not. But possibly in some position, unless Indiana just pays him off because they gave him a 3-year contract.
And that's kind of the main reason I was asking. Yeah,
knowing that there was probably going to be a change. How they did not know that there was going to, I mean, they knew there was probably going to be a change. And they gave him a 3-year contract. Yeah, but it's just money. It's just money. Dole it out, baby. I wish they would give me some of that. Give me some of that it don't matter money. Brian says, considering that half the team is in the portal, sooner would be better. Absolutely. That's why that Indiana's moving so quick. That's one of the biggest reasons they're moving so quickly, without question. Fred says, whoever is hired, Indiana Sports Beat Radio should be on site for, what are you kidding? You think we won't be? What do we ever miss? Of course we'll be there for his first presser. Oh, my God. We're at everything, baby. We're the only one that goes to everything. We're everywhere. We'll be in Atlanta as Indiana takes on Auburn coming up. So, yes, you can always count on Indiana Sports Beat Radio for being there. Nobody else, baby.
I do gotta say, I feel like, and again, it's just a small sample size just after yesterday. This is the first time in a while where I feel like a majority of the Indiana fan base seemed to be in agreement with who the staff was or the administration was going after for this hire. I hadn't seen a fan base seem collectively excited about a particular person like this in a while.
Well, yes, I agree with you, John Boy. To get this group to agree on much is crazy, but there's nothing. You look at his resume, and I'm telling you, the guy.
You said it. I don't have his record. Actually, I can pull up his record in just a second.
Well, I was looking at it all day.
He's never had a losing season, and this is dating back to 2011. His overall record is 119-35, and his current record with James Madison with 2 seasons in FBS. He's coached 5 seasons total with James Madison, including in his first season where he won the national championship at the FCS level. But in his final 2 seasons, he was 52-9. Didn't even hit double-digit losses in 2 seasons with James Madison and at the FBS level.
Absolutely. And that's my point. That reminds me of Kalen DeBoer.
I agree with you there.
Go back and look at Kalen. He did all that at some low level. I don't care. He was like 63-3. It was like crazy. Winning is winning, man. And he won at every level. James Madison is the new Buffalo. And I used that in the story that I wrote. If you recall a couple years ago, Buffalo, who the hell is Buffalo? They came out of nowhere. They were ranked in football, and when the basketball season came around, they were ranked in basketball. And it's like, are you effing kidding me? Buffalo? Who the hell is Buffalo? Well, you know who the coach for Buffalo football was at that time? Lance Leipold. He's the guy at Kansas now that went to the second worst football program in Division I history, and made them fun and exciting to watch. I love watching Kansas, man. It's like you never know if they were going to win or lose necessarily, but they're putting up points and barely missed a bowl game this year, I think, though. But they played at a tough loss. But regardless of that, they were somebody. Also, the basketball team in the same season, ranked in the top 25. Who the hell is Buffalo? I'm like, guess who their coach was? Nate Oates. Great coaches do great things. James Madison doing the same thing. Football team ranked, basketball team ranked. Their basketball coach won't be there long. You can't have a program like this ranked in the top 25 against the big boys and not get recognized. That's exactly why. But yeah.
One more thing to say on Cignetti before we take our first break here in a second. And it's kind of a pro and a con about him in the same way. So he's 62 years old, and I think it's a good and a bad thing. Starting with the good. It's good in my opinion because one, we already talked about his experience, but somebody at his age coming to a program at the Power 4 level now that you want to have the Pac-12, this will likely, if it works out for him.
Pac-12's not going anywhere.
Okay. This will likely, and I'm talking about the Pac-12 in its current state, by the way.
Right.
If this works out for Curt Cignetti, if he ends up being the guy for Indiana, it wouldn't surprise me if this ends up being his final stop as a head coach, considering his age. And that's a good and a bad thing because obviously you don't want to have to worry about losing him if he has early success with Indiana. It could still happen, but the likelihood of it is a lot less whenever you think about having somebody who might be in their 30s and 40s as the head coach. And again, that does bring me to the bad. The likelihood of you having him for more than 15 years at max, if he's successful, is probably, that's all you're going to get out of somebody at this age.
Shoot, I was thinking 10. I was thinking 10 years.
10's more realistic, but I'm thinking the max. Like if he's young for a 62-year-old. Like he acts young, if that makes sense.
But here's the thing. It doesn't right now. Indiana needs just to get out of the stinking cellar, man. Get out of the basement. Anybody that can turn that program around and get it in the right direction, boom, you can find another Cignetti or whatever. But they're at rock bottom right now. So if it's 5 years, success is success. But we've got lots more to get to on the program today. Up next, Stephen Bartle joins us. We'll talk about the upcoming basketball battles. Tyler Smith from thehoosier.com and Chris Denary. Stay tuned. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. No matter where you're listening, on the ref, down on the river, ESPN 97.7. Always the right call in Evansville. WGLB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM up in the region, the voice of the region, and Fort Wayne's only sports station, 1380 The Fan. Make sure you stick around for Caleb McKinney each morning. Keep it tuned right there. And then right after Indiana Sports Beat, you've got the Sports Rush. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market.
All right. I've been waiting to talk about Cignetti all week because obviously we don't do that on the other shows that I work with. Or not even about Cignetti all week because that just happened yesterday. But
Well,
this is
I'm
about
still
football search
I'm still furious that my story didn't get posted
in time. Yeah.
before the report came out.
Who was it? Zach Osterman who initially reported it? I think.
This I don't know.
I'm pretty sure Osterman had the initial. He didn't.
No, it was football, pro football.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought Zach had it.
So, but it just aggravates me. Well, what did I post? Where is
Fred? He asked other shows. So whenever I'm out, I think I may not have mentioned this before, but I thought I had. But whenever I'm out, I have to fill in on the lovely.
Do not even mention it. Another show.
I need to. Well, it's a show down here in Kentucky that is very prominent. I have to fill in on that show, and you can probably figure out what it is without me saying it.
And we're going to make a change on that.
That'd be nice.
All right. Don't forget about men's soccer. But I can talk about that tomorrow because they play Saturday.
The chance to play down in Louisville if they win.
Yep. The women play tonight up in Maine. Did you know that Kurt Cignetti has already coached at Indiana University?
No, I did not know that.
Yes. He spent 5 seasons at Indiana University of Pennsylvania.
Okay. I was going to say, I looked at his head coaching thing. I didn't think he stopped at Indiana at any point.
That is the dumbest thing. I don't understand. How do you have an Indiana? Because it has nothing to do with IU.
Yeah, that's weird. All right, I just messaged Stephen Bartle just in case he lost track of time.
You know what? And Tyler Harris, whatever the
Smith. You always say I'm getting confused.
Oh my God! I was texting one last week and thought it was the other one. I swear to God.
I heard you. All right, here we go.
$9. That's better than a birdie. But you don't have to be a student to play at Eagle Point. Go online to set your tee time or call 812-824-4040. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by the Chop Shop, home of the Indiana football and men's basketball coaches shows. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. Thanks a lot for being with us. We appreciate you. Hope you've had a good week. Man, it's been chilly out there. It's getting kind of cold. Not going to lie to you, but it's bearable. This is not the Arctic or anything like that. It's just different than the 50s. And you get down, I think it got down into the 20s last night. Thank you, Doug. I love the segments with Mr. Bardo as well. He is a very, very knowledgeable man and always on the go. Derek says Shannon the dude gets way too many vacation days, man. Derek must be down in southern Indiana.
Yeah, that's the thing. We get a lot of what people call comp days. So when we work on holidays, we get that as an extra vacation day. And so that's what ends up happening.
Hey, guess who doesn't get comp days?
Neither one of us do for this show.
This guy.
Jim has to rely on me to make him take off for holidays. If it wasn't
that
for me,
is not a lie.
You would have done a show on Thanksgiving and the day after last week if I wasn't around.
I would have skipped Thanksgiving.
Okay.
But you ain't lying. He ain't lying. I used to never take off. And then I'm glad that we do, but last year we took off like at Christmas way too much.
You
That
were,
will
you
not
were on the road.
Well, and I will be on the road again, but that's not happening this time.
Okay.
Big events coming up on the schedule. Oh, Purdue ascended to number 1 for only the second season in their history right now after Kansas was beaten by Marquette, which it's not like they got beat by James Madison or unless James Madison's good. I shouldn't say that. By Indiana. Hell. But anyway, Marquette's a very good team. I would have put Marquette number 1 if you want to be honest with you. But people just can't seem to get over this Mount Edie effect. I think Marquette.
Well, Purdue beat Marquette. I'll just go and make that clear. I don't know if you knew that.
Well,
Purdue beat Marquette.
I forgot. You're right. You're right. I forgot. I still think UConn is the best team in the country. And we'll see. That'll come around. Yeah. Thank you, Philip. Purdue did beat Marquette. Force is jumping on. Oh, yeah. Some of the college pick'em games are Friday. Don't forget to make picks. Thank you, Philip. Not only that, holy smoke. Let me pull up my horrific week that I had last week. And I mean, it was, for me, god awful. The worst week I've had, and I couldn't believe it. Pete told me, he's like, "Hey, yeah, you're 4-6." I'm like, "What? That's not possible. I could go. I should be able to go 6-4 blindfolded, but I did not. There were just too many upsets, man, and I got hammered." Let me pull this. All right, I picked Louisville over Kentucky. Boy, and only 6% of the pickers picked Kentucky, and they won. 94% were on Louisville, which Louisville should have won that game. Stupid Jake Plummer, whatever his damn name is, that was the worst. That fumble was horrific that he made. I took Ohio State over Michigan, damn it. And the luck guys let me down. Michigan is going to shove it in everybody's face. What happens if they win the national championship? I took UNLV over San Jose, although 95% of the people picked UNLV. They lost. I did pick an upset with Virginia over Virginia Tech that did not work out for me. I took Minnesota over Wisconsin because they needed that for a bowl game. That did not work out for me. I took the Illini over Northwestern. That was a 50-50 pick, by the way, but they were at home and they needed it for a bowl game. They didn't get it. I got New Mexico State over Jacksonville State, but that was a favorite pick. I also got, speaking of the Kansas Jayhawks, where Lance Leipold is, 97% picked that over, got that one. I got Clemson over South Carolina and North Carolina State over North Carolina. But what a horrible week for me. For me. It's about me, John. It's all about me. But actually, just kidding. As we climb down to the last week, I don't know if this is, I guess this is the last week of picks, Pete. Bill, we've got a 2-way tie. I think that's cool as hell. That after all this time, all these picks, Jason Spiegel and Bill Evans are tied at the top. Jason Woodard is 1 game back, as is Bill Overman. Dr. Drew is just 1 game back of that. And Caleb Boggs is 1 game back. and then Fred. And then we got a little gap to Bob Perkheiser. But I am all the way down. Oh, I'm down to 15th or something like that. No, yes, I'm at 15th. Now that is minus 3 picks that I would have had. So I still would have been up toward the top 10. But make sure you get your picks in. And see. What are the picks this week? Let's just have a look.
It's probably all of the conference championship matchups.
Well, that's a great idea, John. You're smarter than I am.
That's about all there is.
New Mexico State and Liberty. I'm taking the Liberty Flames. Now, here's a game, okay, that has been much discussed. Oregon and Washington. Man.
The battle for the college football playoff is what they might as well call it.
Exactly is what that is. That is exactly. Whoever wins this game, and if Washington does not win, not only do they lose the opportunity to make the college football playoffs, but I promise you, Michael Penix Jr.'s Heisman hopes also ride on this game. If he loses to Bo Nix, it shouldn't matter. That's not what the Heisman was built for. It's not how it's supposed to be. But I promise you, Bo Nix, it'll be Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels if whoever loses this game. Whoever loses
Let me go and
this
throw
game,
something else out here. I don't know if you've looked at the spread for this, Jim, but Oregon's favored by 9.5 points. That feels like a lot. Considering what happened in the first game.
You know what? I haven't made a bet in a while. I will take that. That's a great point. 9.5. No stinking way. Now I know Washington's defense is not. That's just.
But this is gonna be one of those games where it's gonna be like 42-35, or maybe even more than that. You know what I mean? Like both
probably more than. Yes, I agree. Now Washington has not played the best over the last part of the season, but they're in the toughest stinking conference right now. I don't care what anybody says.
And they played 3 ranked opponents in a row in their last 4 weeks of the college football season. That's
and the
tough
fourth
to do and stay
and
undefeated.
the fourth one had been ranked for most of the season.
Yes, Washington State.
Yeah, so it's not, and it's a rivalry game, so it's not like that was easy. So, boy, I'm torn on that one, but I'm going to stick with my Huskies, man. All right, how in the world Oklahoma State wound up in the Big 12 championship game is beyond me. They stunk it up. They're 9-3. They lost to South Alabama and Kane Womack in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Big. But I'm going with Texas. No way.
Texas
Miami,
vying for that last playoff spot as well, potentially.
Yeah.
There's a scenario, especially if Louisville beats Florida State.
There are many scenarios. That's another thing we will get to talk about before today and tomorrow. There's a lot of scenarios. It's wild. Who's going to get in? Who can get in? Can Ohio State get back in? Can Texas get in? Can Alabama get in? Alabama plays Georgia, okay? But just beating Georgia does not get them in because they lost to Texas in Tuscaloosa. So Texas will stay above Alabama no matter what. The first one-loss team that would get in would be Oregon. I mean, if they won, it would be Oregon. It's going to be – this is maybe the wildest mix that we've had. I'm taking Toledo over Miami in that one. UNLV, did they screw me last week? Was that one of my losses?
I believe they were. They're taking on Boise State in the Mountain West Championship. They are underdogs by 2.5.
UNLV is an underdog?
Yes.
I'm not taking them then. They stink. Okay. Let's skip down. I'm going to take Tulane. That's kind of an easy pick for me. What about Alabama, Georgia?
I tell you what, it's really that's a really hard game to pick.
Not for me,
because
Georgia hadn't been in 3 freaking years. I am not picking against them,
and that's a fair point. But what makes it difficult is Georgia's best win. Who is it? I mean, yeah, they're an elite team, but their competition this year has been their best win's probably Missouri, who's decent.
They're a good team.
They're also kind of having, I don't want to say a fluky season because it's not really fair to say, but they're having kind of a breakout year. We don't really know how good Missouri will actually be long term. So this is Georgia's first time playing a truly elite opponent, I guess you could say. And it wouldn't surprise me if this goes either direction. I don't know if I would bet against Georgia, but again, I'm not touching this game regardless, but it's a tough one for me.
Michigan, Iowa. I'm taking Michigan, of course. I'm wondering what kind of game is it. I think that this ends up being like a 27-0 game.
I mean, yeah, last time Iowa played.
What's the spread on this game? What's the spread on this game?
I'm going to have you guess. What do you think it is?
Michigan by 12. Right, Michigan by 12.
21.5.
Oh, my God. This is a conference championship game. Thank God this will never happen again in the Big Ten, though. You don't ever have to worry about this again in the Big Ten because now it's going to be the top 2 teams playing in the conference championship going forward, not the top team and somebody else. As much as Jeffrey the Greek would bemoan me saying this, that sorry-ass West Division. It's just been horrible. So going forward, no more divisions in the Big Ten. Next year, it could be
a number of teams, especially when you think about who you're adding in the Pac-12.
I'm thinking, like right now, it would be Washington against Michigan.
Michigan, yeah, 2 teams that are already going to be in the playoff this year.
Now, see, that is an intriguing game.
And not to mention, you'll have the 12-team playoff next year as well.
Now, Louisville, Florida State is the final game on there. And this is not, I mean, Florida State is the 67%, but that's not like it's Michigan is 94%. Go up to some of the bigger games. Georgia, 74%. Texas, 90%. Oregon, Washington is the only other one like this. That's 61-39 pick. But this is Louisville can beat Florida State. I just think that Florida State is ready to shut people up.
The one thing, though, is that obviously Florida State doesn't have Jordan Travis. And they kind of struggled against Florida last week, and I know that's a rivalry game, so anything could happen in that regardless. But Louisville's, and specifically Jeff Brom teams in general, they always seem to respond well after losses, and also vice versa. They seem to respond poorly after big wins. But they're coming off that embarrassing loss to Kentucky. And not that they didn't get blown out, obviously, but like they were supposed to win that game, clearly. And they're having their best season they've had since they've had Lamar Jackson. So Louisville has another big opportunity in front of them with Jeff Brom as their head coach. And it wouldn't surprise me one bit if Louisville can pull this one off and knock Florida State out of the playoff. Again, I don't know if I'm going to bet on this one, but right now my mind's leaning toward Louisville to upset.
Well, here's a little irony for you. What would it do? What would Louisville benefit more by, winning or losing?
How would they benefit more? So that's interesting because if they lose and Florida State gets into the playoff, then they'll be the team that goes to the Orange Bowl. If they beat Florida State's going to get that Orange Bowl bid, and Louisville's going to get whatever the second best bowl is for the ACC. Granted, you'll already have your conference championship, which is a great thing to have, but you'll get a worse bowl game more than likely, which is really weird to think about.
It's a little ironic. Losing this game is better for Louisville. Better for them in the post.
Unless you covet a conference championship more so than, say, an Orange Bowl championship. I think either or is, I mean, especially in the day and age where the bowl games other than the playoff are essentially, I don't want to say meaningless, but they're glorified scrimmages. You almost would rather have the conference championship, I feel like. But again, it's to each their own.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see how it all turns out. So, but we've got, is it break time?
Yes, sir.
We've got to take a break. We'll keep on rolling along. We appreciate having you here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Lots to get to. Basketball tonight. Basketball coming up. Football coming up. Indiana plays tomorrow night, opening up the Big Ten season against Maryland. We'll talk about that and plenty more here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East over off of College Mall Road, where you can find Todd Leary and the Indiana basketball postgame show each and every game. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Don, now the other day, Don's come up to me because he was late. He said, or he called me, said, "Hey, I don't have the link." And then he came up and showed me at the coaches show the other night. He goes, "Look," he said, "Man, look, I just wanted to show you. Here's when this thing came through. It came through at like 9:14 p.m.
Wow.
I said, "Well, that's odd." I said, "I've had stuff like that happen to me and with text messages."
Bardo just texted me, said he won't be able to come on today. He apologizes. I'll send him a message back.
Thanks for the heads up.
But he usually he's told me before it goes to a spam, but that's weird how it came through so late.
Why? And then it's coming from your personal email, right?
Yes.
Why would it go to spam? That makes
no
zero
idea.
sense.
It doesn't always do that, but it has before. All right. I bet the Cignetti news, I bet it'll get finalized. I bet it'll be like a 5 o'clock news dump tomorrow. Tomorrow.
No, they won't make it. That's not a news dump situation there. That's one you want to make a splash.
You still make a splash at 5 o'clock on a Friday. I guess maybe I'm wrong.
Nah, there's too much going on. You're heading into college football conference championships. There may not even be an official announcement until Sunday.
And you may be right.
You may be right. You may be wrong. You just might be crazy.
I'll tell you what, he has a very favorable schedule in year one, no matter who the coach is. 8 home games next year.
Yep.
And your road games are, I know one of them is UCLA. I'm trying to think of the other ones. Pull up real quick. Eight home games.
But he's got Washington at home, baby.
He does get one, but it's also going to be a Washington without Michael Penix.
Yes.
The road games next year, UCLA, Northwestern, Michigan State, and Ohio State. That's not bad for a road schedule.
Say that again.
UCLA, Michigan State, Northwestern, and Ohio State. All right, here we go.
GarnishCatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of Wow Food Group. This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. I hope you're having a good one. Lots to get to. Tyler Smith from the Hoosier.com is going to join us here in a little bit. We'll talk some basketball as Indiana back on the hardwood tomorrow night as they open up Big Ten play. Coming off of a win. Was their last game Louisville? I guess that's code from John.
I tell you what, one thing that throws me off sometimes is whenever I put myself back into the stream without my picture in it now, and I forget that I'm fooling around with pulling up new music like I just did. But
I
anyway,
hear you.
Their last game was why do I feel like it was Harvard. They played Harvard last week.
There you go. That's right. Up in Indianapolis, I forgot.
Yes.
And I'm gonna tell you, Harvard they were a good-looking team. For Harvard, you think of a bunch of smart dudes. They had some athletes. And I'm like, wow, these guys got to be super smart too. And shooters, damn it. I can't remember who the one dude was, but I was like, that ball would touch his hands, and it's like, oh, it's going. It's going. So Indiana needs one of those guys. That's something that Indiana just doesn't have. A guy that can take that three-point shot with complete confidence and knock it down. And I know all the hardcore fans think that the answer is more Trey Galloway, more Anthony Leal. And Anthony Leal got some minutes. And he might get the opportunity to show that. Tyler Smith from the Hoosier.com joins us now. Tyler, I was just talking about Indiana and they still don't have this knockdown shooter, this guy that I forget who. I'd have to pull the stats up for the Harvard game, but they had somebody that, man, the ball touched his hands and he'd be 3 feet from the three-point line and it was going up no matter what and went in a lot. Indiana doesn't have that guy unless it's Mackenzie Mbako, and it still just hasn't opened up just yet. But it's not going to be Trey Galloway. Anthony Leal got a few minutes. I don't know how much. I don't expect his minutes to increase greatly. He may get some minutes, but I don't think that he's a guy that's just all of a sudden going to be playing a ton, because if he had that ability, it would have already shown itself, I'm thinking. But they open up Big Ten play tomorrow night, man, and they'll get a good test against a Maryland squad with Jordan Geronimo, who has been playing kind of successfully for Maryland.
Yeah, he's averaging about 20 minutes a game, 7 points, 4 rebounds. Still not shooting the three that well, but he's doing a lot of good things for him.
Now, see, if he would have done that at Indiana, he'd still be at Indiana probably. But
Probably.
why is he not at Indiana? That's the question. Why did he leave? He obviously was, I'm going to guess, led to believe there's probably not going to be as many minutes for you. And I think that if that were the case, that's a mistake by this coaching staff.
Yeah, it's really hard to say. I think every transfer portal case can be different. So for him, going closer to home, maybe just being like a situation where he just wanted a change of scenery. He obviously may have seen some of the guys coming in that play his position. So it's very possible the coaching staff talked about, a starting spot's not guaranteed for you. And that's what he was maybe expecting by the time Trace and Race were gone. So not really sure what happened there, but glad he's doing well. Maryland, be good to see him at Assembly Hall tomorrow.
Well, let's talk about Maryland. Not the start that any of us expected for them to have. Last year, they won a ton of games at home, could not win on the road. So I don't know if that has still carried over for them, and that would be beneficial to Indiana, obviously, since this game will be at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall on Friday evening. But what should the Peeps be looking for in this game?
This is a really intriguing matchup because both teams, have these expectations to hopefully at least, still be in the NCAA tournament. Both off to, okay starts, nothing great. I saw ESPN Analytics gives IU about a 64% chance to win the game. I saw on KenPom, it's Maryland's 58, Indiana 72. But as you mentioned, Indiana's home, so you maybe give them the slight edge. But Maryland is experienced. They brought, 3 guys back that all average double figures for a team that was an 8 seed in the tourney last year. So they got, Reese has been a guy that's, 15 points and 10 boards a game. They got a couple shooters. Defense has been pretty decent for them so far. So I think it's going to be one of those grinded out games. Hoosiers have an opportunity here to really start off the conference season 2-0. I don't think any game is going to be easy for this group, but when you have that opportunity, Maryland at home, Michigan on the road, good chance to have a good start. If they go 1-1, not the end of the world. They'll be okay. They can work with that, but we really like to go 2-0. If they go 0-2, that's going to be a problem.
Well, not only will it be a problem because they also have games coming up home against Kansas, but on the road against Auburn. While it's not a home game for Auburn, it's being played in Atlanta, so close enough, I would say, for that. But this is a tough stretch for Indiana. They could come out of this 1-4, or if you want to count the Harvard game, 2-4, whatever the numbers are. But this is a tough stretch, and if Kansas is going to be a tough game. I'm not going to lie to you. That's going to be a tough one to get, even though it's at home. If they could get that game, well, that would quite possibly change the trajectory. It would definitely help Indiana and their resume for the NCAA tournament, because I think this is going to be an up and down year for Indiana on the road in the Big Ten.
For sure. I was thinking, too, the fact that the conference is weaker this year is a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, it's a good thing in terms of there's more chances for this IU team to win games. But the bad thing is there's not as many opportunities for big wins on their tournament resume. So those opportunities are maybe few and far between than previous seasons. So Kansas is one of those opportunities. If Indiana can at least compete in that game, that would be a lot. That would say a lot for I think also the fan expectations the rest of the way to feel like there's some momentum there. If Kansas comes in and blows them out of the water on their home floor, that's not going to be great. But these couple games first, before that even happens, really big, as you mentioned, for how tough the schedule gets, but also for if you want to have any chance to be even middle of the pack of the conference, you really need to rack up some wins early and often.
And exactly, Indiana has an opportunity to bolster their resume, like I said, although they have been a little UConn. Obviously, UConn is, to me, I think they're the best team in the country. I think they're better than Purdue, Marquette, those teams, but that'll play itself out. But Indiana has got to start getting production at the guard spot. They're getting nothing. They're getting no points. They're getting no rebounds. It's just as if they're there.
Yeah, and I feel like we've been saying that for a while. I mean, they've had obviously decent guards. Hood-Schifino is amazing. They've had good guard play here and there, but as far as like the collective effort of the backcourt, you go into the tournament, you see these teams that are just guard play is taking them through the tourney. And you would hope Indiana would, really be able to hit that hard in recruiting, and hopefully they're addressing that for the future. But right now there is some talent there. You got to get Xavier Johnson healthy enough where, he's been banged up, seems like every game. So need to get him healthy and going. You mentioned Galloway's more of a spot up shooter. Guys need to create to let him spot up if he's going to take threes. as opposed to him trying to create on his own. And then, guys like Cups and Leal, I mean, they've really, the time they've got in, and it's been more of the facilitator role, but they need some guys to come in and knock down some shots. And hopefully Mbako is ready to rock after his kind of breakout game last time, because this team's going to need it.
Absolutely. And that has Kalel Ware is a player that has just improved every game. He is just relishing his role. Malik Renew and him are playing very well together. Both of those guys have provided the production Indiana needs. Unfortunately for Indiana, right now, they're Indiana's two best three-point shooters, which that's a problem when your two post guys are also your best two three-point shooters.
Yeah, and also with the production of those two guys, it's leaving Indiana fans wondering, like, what if there was just one knockdown shooter, one playmaking guard to go with that? Because that could be an incredible strength to have those guys working together, playing high-low, playing inside out. I mentioned this in a tweet, I would always have one of those two guys on the court at a time. I would never have both of them off the floor. So we'll see if that happens. But better way to utilize those strengths is if you had just even a little bit of shooting and playmaking on the outside.
I'm not going to lie. I'm obviously I do not have NBA coaching experience. I do not have NCAA coaching experience in regards to basketball. But I really, really, really question the fact when I look out onto the floor like I did against Harvard, and it was Harvard, maybe, but anybody else going forward, when I see Anthony Walker, every sub on the floor and not a single starter. Yep. Not that these guys are not great off of the bench, but not all of them at the same time. There's no reason to not have this first and second unit thing. Indiana does not have that kind of talent to where you can send in an entire string of guys that are totally different. If they were that good, they would be starting. And the fact that you're not, so now you've said, okay, I'm just going to put my second tier across the board in. If the other team doesn't do that smartly, I don't know how well that's going to work throughout the season, especially in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I'd say the only time I'd be for it is if there's a game where the starters just come out incredibly flat, there's no energy, and to prove a point, hey, you five, let's go. Next five, get in for a few minutes and show the starters you're not going to put up with, that kind of effort. But other than that, as I mentioned, especially those two bigs, you got to have one of those in at all times. I would have one of the other seniors probably in at all times to help stabilize things the best that they can. And yeah, that's definitely something from the NBA. I know some college coaches do it, but it's not as many, especially with all the, media timeouts. Yeah, I wouldn't go with the full second unit. I'd try to mix and match combinations. And especially in that Harvard game, it was with, only 6 or 7 minutes into the game. It was the all second unit, and there had already been a timeout and a media timeout. So guys can't be that tired. You got to keep them on the court.
Absolutely. And so with Maryland coming in, what are you expecting in this game?
I'm expecting a back and forth, nail biting kind of game that we've, grown accustomed to all season long, except for UConn, which the second half got away. But, the good thing for IU is they have had some resiliency against, some of these teams like Louisville and Harvard. So if they do get behind, if it's not a pretty game, they should have the confidence to be able to make the plays. Needs to be a rocking crowd, even if you're skeptical about how the season's going to go. Some of these early games in the conference are incredibly important. And if it's a rocking atmosphere, and as you mentioned, Maryland struggles on the road last year, it would be big for Indiana to get a win. I think they're going to get it done, but I think it's going to be one of those really close, really scary kind of games. And hopefully guys like Mbako take last game and use that to move forward.
Maryland, ironically, again, this season, I don't know what it is about them. Last year, they were horrible on the road, unbeatable at home. You want to talk about Jekyll and Hyde, but they lost 3 straight this year away from the Xfinity Center. So we'll see how that follows them. And you talked about the crowd. I expect the crowd to be students are back in school, right?
Yep.
So they're all back. So I expect it to be, this is the first game that they've been able to go to in a minute. And so this is Maryland. I expect it to be a big rocking crowd. John made this suggestion earlier. Today's Thursday. I wouldn't be surprised that if, I don't know that they could get it worked out quickly enough, but boy, at halftime, you could always see the announcement of Kurt Cignetti.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about just jacking the crowd up even more, but they might want to save that for Kansas.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I've seen a lot of tweets from fans just kind of wondering if that would be the case. We'd probably know some point today or tomorrow if that's a possibility. But yeah, anything to hype the crowd up even more. It's going to be a really fun atmosphere. And, I guess part of me is, I guess from a side of Maryland, if they're 4-3 to start the year, makes you a little bit nervous because, they have the talent to break out. And so it's a big game for them as well. So Indiana's got to come ready because they got 3 guys averaging double figures who have been there before. So they're going to not be intimidated by the environment, even though they've struggled on the road. So hopefully Indiana can get it done.
We'll certainly find out. Tyler Smith from thehoosier.com. Make sure you go to thehoosier.com. They have got a ton of info up on in regarding the game and the football search. Make sure you give Tyler Smith a follow as well. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You betcha. Hey, we've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio in the second hour. Of course, brought to you by Cheryl Sizemore and Remax Realty. If you're in the Indianapolis area and needing a home there, reach out to Cheryl Sizemore, Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Well, I didn't realize we were over there.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I can always fix it in post-production.
I hate that we didn't have Bart over there.
Is he traveling for anything? Minnesota plays tonight. He may be doing that game on BTN.
I have no idea. I just hate it because that's a really good one. But we'll have more tomorrow. This stupid mic is driving me insane. Oh God, it drives me nuts. Oh man, you have no idea how hard it was moving all this crap back.
Oh, I bet it was.
Mainly because I had to unhook everything on the computer. All the screens. Had to change them, alter them. Oh my goodness. What do we got here? Let's see. All right. So moved Tyler up to 9:10. So 9:30 we got Jada. I'm trying to think of who can I try to get on for football real quick.
Did Nislett come on Tuesday?
Todd
Leary? Oh, Todd Golden, you mean?
Yep. on, man. Gee whiz.
All right, here we go. And within the Stonecrest golf community, choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details. This segment is brought to you by the Ugly Grouper. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday as we get closer to the weekend, and there is a ton of stuff going on. Lots of action to catch on the in the world of sports. Indiana women's basketball plays in Maine tonight as a salute, I guess, that this game was set up for Mackenzie Holmes, who is from Maine. So they set this game up, which is a cool thing to do. Get to play in front of her home crowd or hometown fans, which I'm sure there will be a big outing for that as the All-American comes home from Gorham, Maine originally. So congratulations to her getting to do that. That's kind of a cool thing. Indiana, after getting throttled by Stanford, unbelievably, come back, beat a ranked Tennessee team, of which, of note, that game was aired on Fox Sports. It is the highest rated women's basketball game in the history of Fox Sports right now. So there's that. You got that going for you. Everyone very interested in the football search for Indiana, which seems like it has come to a conclusion, but they've got to do their due diligence. They have to do all the background check. See, that's what takes, even when we know they have their guy and they know they have their guy, there are things that they have to do. They've got to do the background check. They've got to do the checks that they actually probably should do beforehand. But sometimes it takes a minute before they're able to do that. But you never know. It wouldn't be surprising or shocking to see him introduced tomorrow night at halftime, which would be huge for Indiana fans. I think he's the right guy. Like I said, I wrote a piece yesterday in the Hoosier that was published on the Hoosier.com. If you want to go read that, but it talked mainly about, Indiana they've had 29 football coaches in the history of Indiana football, going back to 1887 now. So that's not a lot. Hell, that's less than presidents. But that's because you had guys like Bo McMillan stick around for 14 years. Bo McMillan is the last. There have been 6 coaches at Indiana, football coaches, that left Indiana with a winning record. Of those 6, the last to do it left in 1947. So that should put that into context for you. Bo McMillan was at Indiana for 14 seasons. He went 63-48, 50% winning percentage, damn good. He won a Big Ten title. He had George Taliaferro and Ted Kluszewski. And if you don't know who those guys are, then you're not a lifelong sports fan, definitely not an Indiana fan. George Taliaferro, the first African-American drafted into the NFL. Ted Kluszewski, the same year he played on the Indiana's only outright Big Ten champions in 1945, I believe. He hit .443 for the baseball team and would go on to have a career in Major League Baseball playing for the Cincinnati Reds. But there's just been a little success. And my take on Indiana football is that they were competitive up until the 60s. And then Indiana got slapped with sanctions, accused of improper benefits to players. But they didn't just punish the football program. They punished all sports. For 4 years, no Indiana teams were allowed to play in postseason playoffs, which is crap. My gosh, you want to talk about the basketball team taking a hit. But so when those sanctions ran out, John Pont came along. And although he did not leave Indiana with a winning record, he did get them to the Rose Bowl in 1968. And then you have the up and down roller coaster ride, which was mostly down, if you want to be honest, of Lee Corso. And then you skip up to Bill Mallory, who also did not leave Indiana with a winning record, mainly because of his first year. I think they didn't win a game. And that probably cost him having a winning record. But they did go to 6 bowl games in 8 seasons under Coach Mallory. And Indiana was competitive. They beat Ohio State in back-to-back years. They beat Ohio State and Michigan in the same year. Last time that's happened. Either of those things. But to me, what happened to Indiana football is they came off. There was also around the time of after the Rose Bowl, there was an issue with African-American players boycotting because of the treatment they have received. That coincided with the arrival of the one Bob Knight in 1971. Indiana basketball took off like a rocket, having them in the Final Four in 2 years. And then, boom, basketball is off and running again. Forget football, who cares? And that's exactly what happened. Forget football, who cares? And that was okay for a long time until it wasn't. And it's not. Now, football drives the train in college athletics. And you don't have to be a team that's going to win a national championship, but you have to have a program that can at least play with those teams, that can go 500, that can win 8 games. There's no reason not to. You have enough other games. They're not playing Ohio State and Michigan State every week. You have plenty of opportunities to win games. Next year, they've got 8 home games. I haven't even looked at the schedule. I'm not even looking at the schedule, but I promise you 3 of them are paid wins.
And those 3 are FIU, Western Illinois, and Charlotte.
There you go. Charlotte has made my brother was the head of security for them, so I know this. They went up to Division I probably, 5-6 years ago. But I know that they have played, I would venture to guess Charlotte has played more higher level, higher profile Power 5 teams than any other team of their nature. They have been to Tennessee. They've been to Kentucky. They're coming to Indiana. They've been everywhere for a check because they were getting their program up and running. Now, they're better than they were now, but that's still there's three wins right there automatically. So now I guess I need the schedule up, John, but
I'll give it to you. So, and I'll give it to you in order too. So they'll start the season with FIU at home, and then they'll play FCS Western Illinois at home in their second week. And by the way, that FIU game is in week 0. So Indiana will have a week 0 game next year. And in week 2, which is Indiana's third game, they will travel to UCLA for their first game on the West Coast. They'll play the UCLA Bruins in game 3. They'll get in conference play a little early.
So,
but again, I got to say, if you're going to play any of the Pac-12 teams on the road, and you only get one of the 4, I think the one you want is UCLA.
Well, yeah, right now, but that is going to be tough. But
yeah, of course, in any road game is going to be tough.
But all right, so you've got the 3 wins: FIU, Western Illinois, boom. Charlotte.
The Charlotte doesn't come until after UCLA. You have UCLA is game 3 on the road. You come back home after that to face Charlotte, and then after that you go back into conference play for good. You'll play Maryland and
at home.
Northwestern. Maryland at home, Northwestern on the road, and then you have your first bye week after that game. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right,
they should have 4 wins after the first 5 weeks minimum.
I agree with you.
Let's say they lose to UCLA on the road. Well, just at that. Now, Northwestern on the road is going to be tough for them.
It will be.
But I don't know that it – we have to wait to see what kind of team they can get put back together.
We have no idea what the roster is going to look like next year.
But let me tell you, there's no gimmies on there after that. Nebraska is on the come. They're on the rise.
Thankfully, you get them at home. Then you also get a Penix-less Washington at home.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. They're not going to be Kalen DeBoerless.
And that's true, but you also never know we've never seen Kalen DeBoer. Well, that's not true. I was going to say we've never seen him without Penix, but he didn't have him at Fresno State, and he did fine there. So, anyways.
It's a tough schedule.
It is. Then you have Michigan State on the road, Michigan at home.
That's a tough way to end
week
the
after
year.
that with Ohio State, or before Ohio State, and then you have Purdue. So, here's the thing. What's great about this schedule for Indiana, though, and whoever the new head coach is, you have a lot of opportunity in the first half of the season to gain some momentum. That's the best part of this schedule for Indiana. If you can gain momentum early, win 5 of your first 6, something like that, and I know that may be asking a lot, depending on what your roster looks like. But if you have a formidable roster, you can make the most of the early going in this schedule and build some momentum for the back half of the season. If you can get to bowl eligibility by, let's just say you have 5 wins and you're going into the Nebraska game, and
they're not going to find
a way to beat Nebraska.
If they have 5 wins going into the Nebraska game, I'm going.
It means you've beaten everybody except UCLA. So
yeah, and that's going to
potentially.
Yeah, I think if they can get to 6-6, it's going to be tough. They're going to have to win a game on the road, whether that's at Northwestern, whether that is at Michigan State, and I believe, Nebraska is going to be tough as nails. Oh, Purdue, you have Purdue at home. Also, I think they win that Purdue game next year, depending on what they put back together. Because
it's hard to even speculate. And a lot of what I'm talking about is based on if Indiana returns a lot of their roster from last year, which, again, there's so many of them in the transfer portal right now that you can't even really – you have no idea who's going to come back and who's actually going to leave. So it's really just all speculation.
That it is. Let's see. Hoops, baby.
Right.
Hoops is what we'll be talking about when we come back. Chris Denari is going to join us. The Pacers are in the quarterfinals, man, for the in-season tournament. And then we'll finish out with some more Indiana basketball. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
And there's probably some truth to that, Brian. We'll talk about that. Who are the 50% 3-point shooters?
That's a good question. I don't know.
It's a hell of a question. Unless he's talking about the women's team. They've got some freaking shooters.
I gotta say, I'm glad Indiana's not going to hire Paul Christ. I was not.
That
gonna
wasn't
be
going to
excited
happen.
about that if they picked
That's
him.
like John Gruden. I kept saying, I'm like, going, just stop talking about it. It's not happening, people.
Candle. I would have been fine with. Candle was the guy who I initially thought was.
Well, he was
the
a good
guy.
He was probably a definite possibility, and probably a close second.
I mean, he has a similar, other than never winning a national championship, but even though it was at a different level, he's been with his school for a very long time, and he's done very well with them.
I'll tell you what, probably put Cignetti over Candle was Toledo they're kind of in an easy situation. So their success, while you never discount it, is not as hard to come by. Yeah. James Madison, they made the jump to Division I, didn't miss a freaking beat. They go 11-1 in the flipping Sun Belt, which I know it's a Sun Belt, but I don't care.
Sun Belt's a lot better than it used to be.
Well, but they just moved up from FBS.
Yeah, I mean it's the same league that Kane Womack plays in.
What did I just do?
What'd you do?
Oh, I knocked something off and it took my screen away, but it's my headphones thing.
Oh.
This one screen, you can't even touch it, and it goes black.
I wonder if Denari's not coming on. I haven't heard from him. If not, we can keep talking about whatever else you want to talk about. I'll talk about whatever.
Indiana basketball.
Yeah, I can talk some basketball. We haven't done much basketball talk today.
And people cracked me up, Rod Carey. I'm like, as if he had a chance. None.
He could be an OC somewhere else, though. Who knows? He may even follow Tom Allen if Tom Allen ends up getting another coaching job. All right, here we go. I think Tom Allen will be a D coordinator somewhere. He won't be a head coach immediately.
Shop, Market and Table, a part of the Wild Food Group, is your butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this Thursday. Thanks a lot for being with us. We appreciate you. And however you're finding us, whether it's on radio, where we are in Evansville on 97.7 ESPN, The Ref, keep it tuned right there. It's always the right call for those of you down on the river. Up in the region, it's 12:30 a.m., 104.7 FM, WJOB, the voice of the region. Keep it tuned there. IU basketball games, coaches show. And, of course, over on 1380, The Fan in Fort Wayne, Fort Wayne's only sports station. We appreciate each and every one of you. But if you're listening on YouTube, then you need to be a subscriber. It costs you nothing. It does nothing. It's a great benefit to us. And I'm wanting to get us going, baby, so we can reach as many people as possible. Of course, the post-game show coming up tomorrow night. I always forget that. From Hoosier Hanks East off of College Ball Road in Bloomington with Todd Leary. There is no one. And I know this is self-promoting, but there is no one that breaks down Indiana post-game better than Todd Leary. I mean, everyone listens to whatever they want to listen to for whatever reason, but as far as knowing what they're doing and knowing what they're talking about, please tell me where there's another program that has somebody that comes close to him. I would love to see this suggestion, because there's not anyone. He played for Bob Knight. He is a student of basketball. He just sees the game as a high-level player. And I mean, he should be a coach probably. I love doing the post games with him because I continue to learn so much from him, and looking forward to that. So, of course, that'll be at Hoosier Hanks East. If you're in the Bloomington area, come out and watch the game. Todd, if it's a home game, I'm at the game. Away games, I'll be there. But Todd goes there and watches the game. So you can go hang out with Todd Leary during the game, or watch the game at the same time, do a watch party. Hoosier Hanks will set up some apps. Just tell them that Indiana Sports Beat Radio sent you, and you'll get taken care of. Looking over on the Andy Moore Honda hotline, what do we got going? Andy says Tyler is exactly right. You can't have them both off the floor like Woody does in the second unit, talking about Malik Renew and Kelly Ware. I agree. I mean, you're taking away your two best weapons at the same time. Why you would do that, I don't know. Now, I think Indiana is deeper this year, and a lot of good points made that while Jordan Geronimo has moved on, Anthony Walker is proven to be more than a solid replacement. That dude is a producer, and he produces in a quiet way. But they're also getting production from other people, and that is huge. As a matter of fact, they get more production from certain people off the second unit than some guys on the first unit. I don't want to harp on anybody particular, but Trey Galloway is really not doing a lot as far as producing. Definitely not from an offensive category, not rebounding, not getting a ton of assists. That's the difference between Indiana being a really good team and being a better than average team, which is what they are right now, is guard play. Pure and simple. Guard play. They don't have much of it. X has been hurt some, and he is not, even when he wasn't and playing in it, he wasn't forcing things, which was good to see. But right now, Kelly Ware is your points leader. He's averaging just under 18 points a game and rebounding leader at just under 9 rebounds a game. So he's your guy. Guess who your assist leader is? Malik Renew. Guess who your steals leader is? Malik Renew. blocks. Kalel Ware. So your two best bigs are your just best everything. Let's look down here at 3-point shooting. Xavier's shooting 50, but how many is he attempted here? Yeah, this is a funky spreadsheet here. Oh, here we go. Season totals. Field goals. Oh, I hate this. I hate when I see something that I'm not familiar with. But Kalel Ware hitting on 63% of his shots. He missed one shot in the last game. And you'll say, well, he plays close to the basket. I don't care. Most of those shots are 6-foot shots. They're contested. They're not easy. It takes touch. Malik Renew is right behind him at 61%. Then you got it. You have Xavier Johnson, who's hitting at 48.6%. And before I forget, free throw percentage, Ware, 70. Renew, 71. Xavier, 80. Do you know what Trey Galloway's free throw percentage so far for the year is? 64%. That is not even close to acceptable for a guy who's supposed to be one of your shooters. Mackenzie Ibaka, and I don't know if that's for the season, but that's per game. Mackenzie Ibaka is a great free throw shooter. That's a fact. Where is he? Well, he's not 11 for 11. That can't be right. But or maybe it is. He is deadly at and that shows you how good of a shooter he really is. He's money on the free throw line. Money. Trey Galloway, 11 of 17. That's a problem. If you're not producing out there, but you get to the free throw line, you got to hit your damn free throws. And for it to be a one of the guards, that's an issue. Anthony Walker, 14 of 18, not bad. Peyton Sparks, yikes, 2 of 10, 20%. That's horrific. Gabe Cupps is doing a good job at the line. But guard production, man, they're just not getting it. Caleb Banks, he's the third 50% three-point shooter. Caleb Banks, he's done a hell of a job this year off the bench. That's who I was trying to think of a minute ago. He's I don't know if it's Caleb and Anthony Walker are great off the bench. And I think that they should bring those guys in, but you've got to leave either Kalel Ware on the floor or Malik Renew on the floor, if at all possible. Having Gabe Cupps and Trey Galloway in, that is teams have Indiana at a distinct disadvantage if that is the case. Or even CJ, who is still kind of finding his way along. What is CJ doing? Where's his three-point shooting? 75%. That can't be right. That's three-point shooting. But Indiana needs to get production from the guards, period. End of story. Rebounds, they've got to start getting more rebounds, and you don't have to hit 12 3-pointers. They need to hit 6 or 7. Todd Leary says it all the time. They just need to hit 6 or 7. In the last game against a Harvard, that was a tough back and forth game, but Indiana got a hold of it and won that game 89-76. 2 3-pointers. If two of those 3-pointers fall, the one that they changed, there was actually 2, I think, that they changed from a 3 to a 2. If those, well, they would still be 2-pointers. But anyway, 2 more 3-pointers go down, and that's a 20-point game. And you look at that completely differently. You're like, oh, well, yeah, they handled them well. Maryland coming in and still not doing well on the road. They lost 3 straight on the road. Then they've won 3 straight. Don't know if any of those were on the road, but George Geronimo has moved between the starting lineup and the bench for them, playing a power forward. Willard says he's one of the more productive in the country. Good to see for Jordan Geronimo. He was averaging 3 points per game through Maryland's first 4 games while shooting 30% from the field. Since then, he's averaged nearly 13 points, while his field goal percentage over that span has doubled to 76%. So, this is going to be a probably an emotional game for Geronimo, and I hope the fans treat him well. Yeah, no reason to boo him, but none of the people that would boo him are listening to this show right now. It's all students. The students they'll get all up on that. They just, that's part of it. You like Larry said, that's part of the experience.
Let me ask you this, Jim. This is kind of related to that. Have you talked about, and this was actually last week, did you see the clip of Greg Popovich going up to the PA and getting on fans for booing at Kawhi Leonard?
I did not, but I heard about it, and that is a la Bob Knight.
Bob Kravitz said that, didn't he? I didn't know that was a thing that Bob Knight did.
Oh, my God. He did it more than once. Like when if the crowd would ever go, bull bleep, bull bleep, bull bleep. Oh, no. That wasn't going to happen, boy. Knight would get up, go over and grab the microphone from Chuck Crabb, and now listen. No, you kids here. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He did that more than once. He may have been one of the first to ever do that. Who thinks to do that? Old school. Way old school. Pop's an old school dude, man. He's from Indiana, by the way. People.
That's also fitting.
He's from Indiana. He's a region rat. Went to the same high school that our good friend Rick Bozich went to at the same time, no less. At the same time, no less, I believe. I think I'm correct on that. I know that
Are they really the same age? I didn't realize they were the same
age. I don't know that they're the same age, and I'm just saying I think they were in school at the same time. I'll have to confirm that with Rick. I can't remember for certain. I know it was the same school. For certain. So Maryland, Indiana at 7:00 on BTN Friday night. Tonight, Indiana women also at 7 p.m. on ESPN Plus as they take on Maine. And on Saturday, man, I can't wait. Indiana men's soccer is at Notre Dame. 5 p.m. match. Oh, John, I meant to tell you yes, daggone it. Let me see if I can pull this up. We talked to Todd Yeagley yesterday and about the upcoming match and where they are. And I asked him a couple of questions, but I'll see if I can find this to send it to you. See if you can get it pulled up. But
And if you remember what he said, I mean, we could just tell the audience what you said if you remember it. But if not,
well, yeah,
find it.
we can always tell them, but it always sounds better when it's actually coming from the people who
Mr.
say
Yankel.
it. But I have already gotten my credentials for the College Cup, which is taking place in Louisville. But not only that, I started thinking, which is a dangerous thing, because I was rearranging the studio again yesterday, and that was a moment from hell, reconnecting the computers and all of that stuff. But I started thinking, I'm like, when's the College Cup?
Same weekend as Auburn, isn't it?
Yes! Which I found out, I'm like, son of a buck!
Maybe I could cover it for you. I don't know if
Well,
I can. Maybe I can go down to Lynn Family Stadium. It's in my backyard.
Got it figured out.
Oh, we've got it?
First game is on Friday. So if and hopefully Indiana makes the College Cup, I am going to stop in Louisville on Friday. I hope they play, if they're in it, they play the early game at 6 and not the 8:30 match, which would really stink, because after that, then the drive to Atlanta for a 1 p.m. game. Is it? I'm trying to remember what time.
I think it's at 1. I don't have it pulled up right in front of me, but I do believe it's 1 p.m. off.
Yeah, it's
Trying to pull it up right here to confirm that.
but we will find it. Daggone it. I meant to have you pull that up, and that's my fault to get that. But yeah, I talked to Todd yesterday. I asked him, have they talked about the possibility of playing all the College Cups they've played, of playing one that's that close? Now, I didn't realize that they actually got to host a College Cup back in 1988. That must have been back when they were just still going
2
to
p.m.
whatever.
tip off, by the way, for Indiana Auburn.
Oh, thank God.
That
But is
extra
that-
hour.
But is that Eastern time or Central?
Yes, it's Eastern.
Oh, thank goodness. Holy smokes. That helps a little bit. Not a lot, but
And if Indiana men's soccer wins, will you be coming back for the championship match after that?
absolutely. But that's not till
What a
the
weekend.
11th. It's not till the 11th.
That's what I'm saying. You'd have a day buffer.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Or more. The game is on the 9th or the 8th.
It's a good question. I don't know.
I think it's
we'll
the
we'll
9th.
get this all sorted out.
I
We'll get
think
this
it's the
all sorted
9th.
out.
But it's going to be a lot, hopefully, which that's cool. That'll be fun. I've never been to a College Cup. I tried to
You
go
ever been to Lynn
last
Family
year.
Stadium? You never been to the stadium down in Louisville, have you?
I have not. When I saw the soccer matches prior to that down in Louisville, it was at the old
At Slugger.
the baseball, Slugger Field.
It's a nice facility.
Oh, it looks
Lynn Family
beautiful. It's
Stadium
right off of the interstate, right off of 71, I believe, as you're
Yep.
going out east of Louisville downtown. It would be a great facility. But can you imagine the onslaught of Indiana fans that will be at that match?
Oh, I'm sure the organizers of the College Cup, which is the NCAA, I'm sure they are rooting for Indiana to be in this, in terms of attendance and ticket sales and all that kind of stuff, and for viewership as well.
They won't have to worry about that. It'll be there'll be Indiana fans there that can't get in. And it will be a madhouse of Indiana fans. I'm telling you, whoever they play is going to be in for a rude awakening from a fan standpoint, without question. It'll be a fun and rough one. Are we out of time for a break?
Yes.
All right, we'll take another break. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Back with it right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the
That will be cool to see. Let me see. I haven't looked at the College Cup bracket or the tournament bracket in a while. See who they could be facing.
What in the hell?
Yeah, so here's all the Elite Eight matchups for the NCAA men's soccer. Stanford versus Clemson, which is number 16 versus number 9, their national seeds, if you will call it. Number 3, North Carolina versus Oregon State. Number 5, West Virginia versus LMU. I don't even know who that would be. Loyola Marymount. And then Indiana, number 2, Notre Dame. Notre Dame being the
Did you say number 2?
Yes, Indiana. The team that Indiana is playing is the highest ranked team left in the field.
Damn.
Who's number 1? Who'd they lose to? It was Marshall. Our boys who don't use any landlocked players.
Who the hell are they playing?
No, Marshall's out. They lost to Stanford.
Yes,
they were the number 1 seed.
Freaking Marshall.
Yeah, killed 3-0 just by Stanford.
I love it. I love it. I can't find that stupid. Gee whiz. I asked him to send me the man, we got thank goodness for Tyler. I know 2 guests in the same day.
Yeah, did Chris texts us? Did he mention that he was going to be out today?
I don't recall it.
Huh.
Something may have come up.
Yep, some things happen.
I'm planning on going. I'm waiting for credentials, but I'm planning on going to the Pacers game Monday night against, it's against Boston.
Your cousin
from Boston.
Here we go.
But at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville and Evansville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. Hey, some news also yesterday out in regards to Indiana men's basketball. Little traveling next year. Little traveling. Get your passport ready.
I know what you're already saying, but I could have sworn this was announced back in the spring, or at least it was reported, maybe not officially announced.
If it was, I do not recall it.
No, because remember we talked about the idea of potentially Indiana playing Louisville in back-to-back seasons because Louisville is also playing in this event next year, the Battle for Atlantis.
Well, that doesn't mean it's not true. It just means I don't remember because
that's okay. We forget things from time to time.
I'm feeble-minded. But get your passport ready. Indiana playing in the Battle for Atlantis next year.
I believe it's the first time Indiana has played in this event, or will be the first time they play in this event.
I believe you are correct, sir.
They obviously played in their not secret scrimmages, but it was their off-season trip a couple of years ago when Mike Woodson was first brought in as head coach. But that wasn't any sort of special tournament. It was just some off-season exhibitions. But yeah, it's a great field, I believe. Creighton's in it, Louisville's in it, Oklahoma, West Virginia. I don't have the rest of it in front of me. Those are the ones off the top of my head.
but a pretty good field for the battle for Atlantis next year, from what I recall.
Yeah, and looking forward to that. Or did you just name them all?
I named most of them. I'm trying to get the rest of them just to. Here we go. Here's the full lineup for next year: Arizona, Creighton,
Wow.
Davidson, Gonzaga,
Wow.
Indiana, Louisville, Oklahoma, and West Virginia.
Whoa, baby. That's going to be a tough one. That is a lineup. And you talk, Indiana had such a crappy preseason schedule during the Archie Miller era. And now they're going to play Arizona, or no, they could possibly play Arizona in the second time in 3 years. You've got a good Creighton program. Davidson is solid. Gonzaga, I don't need to say much more there. Louisville is on the rise. Oklahoma.
Nah, I don't know if I would say that. Here's the thing. I bet Louisville will have a brand new coach next year.
Oh, come on.
Kenny Payne will not be around. Actually, let me go and say this. I can say this because I heard it from somebody that I work with that I trust. I don't understand the reasoning for this, but if Louisville had lost to Bellarmine last night, which they nearly did, that was going to be Kenny Payne's last game. And I don't know if that's going to hold up against other teams of that caliber. Like if it happens again to somebody else, like they play like Pepperdine or something coming up, they have a couple other cupcakes that teams that you would think would be cupcake opponents. But Kenny Payne will not be Louisville's coach next year, even if he does make it the entirety of the season. I just don't think there's not enough there. Even though they had good showings against Indiana and Texas, Louisville cannot sustain this in the era of NIL and the transfer portal. You cannot sustain what they're doing right now.
No, they were down at the half to Bellarmine last night, and Bellarmine is a program that Scotty Davenport has done great things with. He started out as the high school coach at Ballard High School in Louisville.
We've had Scotty on the show before.
Yeah, and I remember when I was in high school. So he's a great guy, great dude. And you know what? I need to get him back on just to see how he's doing. But yeah, this is a hell of a lineup in this battle for Atlantis. West Virginia, Oklahoma, Louisville, Indiana, Gonzaga, Davidson, Creighton, and Arizona. The only one that's truly not considered a powerhouse is Davidson.
And in the battle for Atlantis, they usually throw in one of those teams. This year it was Northern Iowa. And again, Northern Iowa, a good program, just not a team that you typically think of as an elite program.
Oh, I'm not surprised by that. I'm surprised by how strong. I'm like, gee whiz.
Oh, yeah.
12 games,
in my
3
opinion,
days.
the most competitive holiday basketball tournament outside of Maui, usually.
Oh, you know what? We forgot about the daggone Mike Woodson Zoom.
Oh, well, that's okay. We'll have it for you on YouTube. Not for you, but for the fans, for the listeners.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing if I can jump on there real quick though, which I think I probably can.
That's cool too.
We'll see what I can get pulled up, but yeah, I'm looking for. You got to get your passport now. You did not used to have a passport to go to Maui or to the Bahamas, but now you do. So you have to have a passport, which mine has run out. I've got to get that, and I've got that written down. It's a slow process, but as long as you think about it far enough in advance, it's not an issue. So here we go. Let me see if we can get this pulled up. Nope, that's the wrong one. I think we're going to miss it today, and that really aggravates me. I had an alarm set to remind me, and it didn't go off. So, man, I may not have responded to it as well. We'll have that for you, though. Up. That's why you need to be a subscriber to the YouTube channel. We'll have that up as soon as it's made available to us. We'll see what Woody has to say, but I can't imagine there's anything shocking being said at the moment. Just your normal pregame. Got to get ready for a good team coming in. But Indiana needs to see progress in this game. It's a Big Ten game. They have to see progress. And by progress, I mean from the guards, from the perimeter. Mackenzie Mbako is he's coming around. He's just not, the only thing he's not doing well right now is hitting 3-pointers. He had 18 points in the last game, but was 1 of 7 behind the arc. That's because he's a hell of a free throw shooter, number one. And he's trying to get to the rim. But if he can, if his 3-point shot starts falling, that's exactly why you heard about Mackenzie Mbako, what you heard. It's just not together yet at the college level. He's facing defenses that are faster, that are bigger, that are just more difficult. He's in an offense that does not allow him to just be about him, which I'm not saying he was selfish, but in high school, he was obviously the best player on his team. So he's probably taking most of the shots, and they're probably working to get him shots. That's not always the case here. You've got Khalil Ware, Malik Renew, and company who are very good at doing what they do. Malik has to be able to blend his talents into that, and a big chunk of that is hitting from distance. Let's see. Andy says, people get upset with Gunn, and he understands why, but when he's pretty much always playing with bench guys, it's tough on him. Let him play with some starters more. And there's truth to that. That's another thing. Anthony Walker's a veteran. He's played 4 years. CJ is still growing and learning, so he needs to be with a unit that has more talent. Not that Anthony doesn't, but the rest of the guys are also. Caleb, while playing well, is still young and learning. Then you've got Gabe Cupps, who's a freshman. So it's that's another reason why I don't like this complete platoon system, if you will. I don't. It'll be interesting to see how this goes tomorrow night. How will we see the substitution rotations? And that will probably depend on how the game's going, for one thing. But he tends to do that at some point in the first half a lot in these games. And I don't know it matters what the score is. But we'll see how that goes tomorrow night in Big Ten play in the first Big Ten game. I can't believe we're almost out of time, John Boy.
I know it's been a fast show.
Tomorrow, who do we got lined up, sir?
Let's see. We'll have Mr. Bob Kravitz on with us tomorrow. We'll have Zach Osterman.
Right.
I'm going to try to see if our friend Jeffrey the Greek can make an appearance, considering his Iowa Hawkeyes are playing in the conference championship.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm going to reach out to him and see if he wants to hop on, and then we'll probably hear from our friends at Boiler Upload. Either, I guess it would be Travis Miller. Did Casey Bartley come on Monday when I wasn't here?
You know what? That was too many days ago, brother. I can't.
It'll be one of them. One of our friends from Boiler Upload will likely join us. So that's what I look forward to.
They'll get to brag about the number one Purdue Boilermakers.
That's right. Hey, and last time this happened a year ago, they lost to Rutgers. So don't lose to Northwestern if you're a Boilermaker fan.
Joey pointing out the last time the Hoosiers were anywhere near the top 100 of the 3-point field goal
30
shooting was in the Ken Palm era, or 2016-17, the Crean era. Yikes. Appreciate everybody jumping on today. Look forward to tomorrow. I don't think the Indiana will have a new football coach just yet, but I do think it's going to be Kurt Cignetti regardless. He's my pick. Big thanks to Tyler Smith from thehoosier.com. Of course, John, the producer. Glad to see he made it back, keeping us between the white lines. Most importantly, thanks to each and every one of you. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.